Today we're going to be learning about hotkeys and control groups. So to start off with hotkeys, what this is essentially a keyboard shortcut to do most things in Warcraft 3, to make units, to make buildings, to use abilities, to use items. Everything has a hotkey in Warcraft 3. Oftentimes a mistake that new players will make is if they want to, say, train a peon, for instance, they're going to click on their Great Hall, then they're going to bring their mouse down all the way to the bottom right of the screen, and they're going to click on peon. Now, this is fine when you're just starting off, but if we want to incorporate hotkeys, what instead we can do is we can just press P to build a peon. We can see there, next to train peon in the tooltip, parentheses P, that is the hotkey to do this. And we can also use hotkeys to make buildings. If we select our peon that we just built, and then go down here, we can find out the hotkey for build structure is B, and then if we want to build an altar, we can come here and figure out that the hotkey for an altar of storms is A, so we press B and then A, and now we're constructing our altar. Let's say we want to build a burrow next, we'll select our next peon, hit B again, and then find the hotkey for burrow, which is O, and then we're building our burrow. Some hotkeys are more intuitive than other hotkeys. So for instance, if we want to build a barracks now, we press B for build structure, and then barracks happens to be B. And you can customize your hotkeys, you can change them around, but for today's video, we're just going to be talking about the default hotkeys for everything. Our first couple of units are out now. We're going to use hotkeys to skill an ability on our Blade Master, where we're going to first hit O and then W, that will skill Windwalk. We can then hit W again to cast Windwalk, and we're going to start our creeping. In a second here, we're going to want to go back to our base, and we're going to want to build a second grunt. In order to get back to our base, there's a couple of methods. The first of which is to use camera controls. We can scroll on the edge of our camera like this. We can use arrow keys to move our camera like this, or we can use mouse 3 to hold and drag our camera. And then we can drag all the way down to our barracks, click on it, hit G, and that will train another grunt. And then we have to drag all the way back up to our Blade Master. This, of course, has the disadvantage of being quite slow. There is a quicker method, which would be to click on the mini-map to our base, and then we can click on our barracks, hit G, and that will train another grunt, and then we can actually use another hotkey, which is F1, and we can double tap F1, and that will jump us back to our Blade Master. F1, F2, F3, respectively, control all three of your heroes individually in Warcraft. Now, this method has another couple of disadvantages, the first of which, clicking on the map isn't always the most accurate because you have to click on quite a small surface, and also the F1 key has the disadvantage of only selecting your Blade Master when it jumps back to him. A better way of doing this would be to use something called control groups. Now, control groups is the ability in Warcraft to bind the numbers 1 to 0 on the top row of your keyboard to either 12 units maximum or 12 buildings. So in order to do this, we can select our two units, our Blade Master and our Grunt here. We can hold Control, and then we can hit either 1, 2, 3, all the way to 0 on that top row of our keyboard. So we're going to do holding Control, we're going to press 1, and now, if we click on our map and go back to our base, and we click on our barracks and we build a Grunt, in order to get back to our Blade Master and our Grunt now, all we have to do is press 1 to select it, and then double tap to jump to our blade and our grunt. Now we can not just do this with units, we can also do it with buildings. So if we click back to our base and we want to now put our barracks in a control group, we can click on our barracks and we can hold down Control and we can choose a number. I'm going to choose 4. So we're going to hold down Control and hit 4. And now we have our Blade Master and our Grunt in 1 and our barracks in 4, and we can jump between them. And we can also double tap to jump to the Blade Master and the Grunt, or double tap to jump back to the barracks, and this makes things a lot more efficient. Now I've got a problem. I've got my Blade Master and my first Grunt up here in Control Group 1, and then down by my barracks in Control Group 4, I have the 3 Grunts I just constructed. Now I want to unite my Blade Master and my first Grunt with these 3 guys down here. One way I could do this is I could Control Group these into 2 by holding Control and pressing 2. And now these grunts are in 2, and my Blade Master and my first grunt is in 1, and I can unite them like this. But a better way to do this would be to simply add these 3 grunts to the control group with my Blade Master and my first grunt. How I can do this is I can select these 3, and then instead of holding Control, I'm going to hold Shift and press 1, which is where these 2 units are bound currently. And then by doing that, they will all be added to the same group together. I can do this with any unit I want. If I come down here and select this peon, hold shift and press 1, now this peon is in the group with the grunts and the blade master. But I may not necessarily want this peon in the group, so now in order to remove it, I can hold shift and either click on the peon itself or click on the portrait of the peon in the group, and then I can rebind the group by holding control and pressing 1 all over again, and now I have the blade master and the grunts in their own group, and they can go out onto the map. You could do the same thing with buildings as well. If I have my barracks in control group 4 and I want to add the Great Hall to the same group, I can simply click on the Great Hall, hold shift and press 4, and now these two are in the same group together. I could add my Altar of Storms if I wanted. Now I have all 3 buildings. In order to go between the different types of buildings, I just hit tab and that selects buildings in the group. You can do the same thing with units. I can just press tab to go between the different subgroups. There are some situations where you have many different units in the same group, and you can just still press tab to go through all the different types. And that's about it. I hope you learned something.